Right. Many years ago, I took up fishing because I thought it would be. It was that sort of thing when you're a teenage boy. Obviously, some of you are going to have to use your imaginations because you've probably not been a teenage boy. Those of us who have been teenage boys probably still have to use our imaginations because it's so long ago when we were teenage boys that you might have a few gaps in your memory. Okay, but it's the sort of thing teenage boys take up, and we took it up when we were in the sixth form, and couple of fishing trips really sort of stay in my mind. One was I was on holiday with my friend Jeff and his family, and we were down in Hastings in that area, and we were fishing in the Royal Military Canal. You know, there's a canal there just behind the seafront. It was about a mile or so in, called the Royal Military Canal, and we were fishing there, and it's one of the first times I'd actually gone fishing. And what my friend Jeff had forgotten to tell me was that you have to attach the reel to the rod properly, because otherwise when you cast off it has this nasty tendency of flying off. Now that's not too much of a problem if on the reel itself there's a little catch which stops the actual line going out. Okay, so the reel flies off, but it's only a few feet, you just put it in. Unfortunately, he didn't tell me that either. So I had a little catch off. So I had about 200 feet of reel to pull in before I got the actual reel back. Which meant before I'd even started, I'd come to a complete halt. Now, I got a little bit better. We used to go out, and we used to go out with my friend Bobby Brigden, and he was one of these people. It didn't matter where he put his dangled his line in, within 30 seconds there'd be a fish. Absolutely amazing. We'd be there 3 feet away from him, literally nothing, absolutely nothing all day long. And we decided, because it was good to keep your mind occupied, we went out on the day before the A-level results came out, because we thought, a nice day outside, occupied all day long. We'd go out with our sandwiches and our bottle of pop in those days. Well, that's what we told Mum, anyway. And we'd be out all day long by the canal fishing. Anyway, it was the day before the A-level results came out. The reason I mention this is because the A-level results are coming out soon. We'll get all that thing. If you either got kids or no kids of that age, they'll all be starting to get all worried. And it was great for the first 20 minutes. You get all your stuff out, you get your bait out, which you've kept in the fridge, hidden away from Mum. But you know, for some bizarre, she didn't used to like having maggots in the fridge. Don't know why. It's a girl thing, isn't it? Boys don't mind things like that as long as they're in a sturdy plastic container. Yes. So we had that, we got all the stuff out, and we sat down, bathed in the sun, because it was in those days, obviously years ago, we had summers. If you remember summers? That was the bit between autumn and the spring that was actually different to the autumn and the winter and the spring, as opposed to just one big mess. And it was great, for about 10 minutes, we got everything ready, we sat down, and we thought, this is great, day before the results come out. And then Bobby Brigden said, oh, the results come out tomorrow. Oh, gee, Bob. And we just sat there thinking about it all day. Now, I don't know if you've ever been fishing. Once you're set up, there's not actually an awful lot to do, really. You just sort of sit there aimlessly. So it wasn't the best thing to do. But I could give you a piece of advice. If you want to take your mind off things, don't go fishing. Well, it's not very good. But the thing that made me think, because we've been talking about building community, and why on earth are you talking about fishing, I hear you ask, is because last week we were talking about helping people with individual needs, weren't we? And have you heard the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day? Have you heard that? Not heard that? Well, in sort of like community service and thing, there's 2 approaches that you can take. The first is, you give somebody something they need on the spot. So if somebody's lost their house, for example, in a tornado or a flood, they need a tent to live in, don't they? Yeah, straight away, and some food and water. Yeah? But if you give them food and water, you need to keep giving them food and water, don't you? Even Jesus with the feeding of the 5,000, wonderful miracle, it still only fed them for one meal, didn't it? Even though they had 12 baskets of leftovers. You can give somebody a fish to help them. If it had been me, I would have starved to death after the day because I couldn't catch enough fish to actually live off of. But the important thing isn't just getting people over that initial crisis, as important as that is. It's getting them to a stage where they don't need you to keep giving them a fish. So the important thing is to teach people how to fish. And not just give them a fishing rod, but give them a net. So that in time, they're not only catching enough fish to feed themselves, they're catching enough fish to sell some and start rebuilding their lives. It's about empowering people so that they can take control of their own lives. And that's something we as a church need to be aware of, because the church does two things. It looks after people's immediate needs, but it doesn't want to be a sort of place where people have to keep coming back and relying on. It wants to be a place where we help empower people to live lives to the full, because that's what Jesus told us he wanted us to do. Live life to the full. And you can't live life to the full if you're always relying on somebody else to give you a fish, can you? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about in the second talk, is about how as a church and as individual Christians we need to reorientate ourselves so that we're not just looking after people's immediate needs, but how we can start to discover ways of empowering them so that they can live lives to the full. And that's where things really start to take off, when you build a community that can look after itself and isn't always needing handouts to survive. So that'll be the second part.